Hi guys, hope you're all okay. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today for another video. I'm doing the first product-based review video in the new shack. So we're in the new shack this morning. It's raining outside, it's freezing, it's windy, it's cold, but it's nice and warm in here. So I thought I'd bring you another radio from Retevis. So those of you who watch this channel will know that I've done a lot of reviews for Retevis on their DMR radios, probably maybe six or more DMR videos I've done on their various different models now, and I've always been really impressed with Retevis radios, and I thought I would try an analog radio. So they very kindly sent me the Retevis RT87. With all the radio reviews I do, I'm always like really honest. I never like sugarcoat anything. So usually if I'm sent something that's not fit for purpose, I don't actually review it. So I'm going to review this RT87 today because I've had a bit of a play around with it, and it seems pretty good. It's a standard dual band analog VHF UHF radio. So same sort of configuration to the Bofeng UV5R, but a lot of people like a bit of an upgrade from the UV5R, and I'm hoping this is going to be the case for this. It's quite a nice radio, quite a nice looking radio anyway, and from what I've seen so far, it does seem to perform and work pretty well. So what we'll do in this video, like all the others, we'll have a look at the programming, we'll have a look inside the box, we'll go through the basic setup and the features and things on this, and then we'll do a little bit of testing. So that might be in this video, depending on how long this video it is. If this video ends up a little bit too long, we'll do the testing in part 2. But yeah, so before we have a look inside the box, I'll just run through some of the features on this radio. So as I said, it's a dual band UHF VHF radio. So it operates on VHF from 136 to 174 MHz and UHF from 400 to 480 MHz. It's IP67 dustproof and waterproof. Its high and low power settings are 5 watt and 1 watt, so quite standard really. It has 128 programmable channels and 25 FM radio channels that you can program in. So if you want to listen to music on it, you can do, because it does have a built-in FM radio. It has Vox, scan function, CT, CSS, DCS, and then it has a couple of more interesting features, such as the scrambler, which is basically an analog voice scrambler, and then compando, which is voice compression. So yeah, and then two of the features which I thought were really interesting in this, it has DCS and CT CSS code scan. So if you're listening to a transmission, so if you're listening to someone on a commercial frequency and you want to know what CT CSS they're using, or you've got another radio and you want to crack the DCS code on there so you can program it to talk to it, you can scan. So when it's receiving a signal, you can go into the settings and you can scan through CT, CSS and DCS codes, which I thought was really handy. Some other radios do offer that feature, but I thought it was nice to see this included in the Retevis model. So what we'll do now, guys, is we're just going to basically open up the box, we'll have a look inside, go through the assembly, and then we'll look at programming and menus in this. Okay guys, so you can see here the box that the radio comes in. It's got the picture of the radio on the front there, just a couple of the features and settings there. Nothing on the back. On the bottom we've got a label that just gives the power output there, 5 watts, and the operating voltage, and just the usual stuff you'd find on the box. We're interested in what's inside though. So on the top here we've got the RT87 manual. It's quite a thick manual, this, 50 pages. And it just gives you it gives you all the information you need to operate this radio, including the programming software and everything, troubleshooting, everything like that. So I thought that was quite good. Usually manuals are neither use nor ornament. Here is a piece of paper which just gives some information on the IP67 ratings or IP ratings on radios. This is IP67 rating. We've got a 3-pin UK charger plug there. So depending on which country, you may need an adapter, but they literally cost pence. But that's just for charging. At the back here we've got the antenna. It's a dual band antenna for VHF and UHF, just like a rubber duck style antenna there. But that can be upgraded should you wish, but that should be okay for what we're wanting to use it for. We've got the battery here just in its little bag, and this is a 3.7 volt lithium ion battery, and it's got the rubber gasket all around the edge. So basically that ensures that this is waterproof. Just around that edge there's the rubber gasket, so it creates a tight seal against the radio, and it's got a locking mechanism on the bottom there, so that's just going to stop any water or dust getting into the body of the radio. In this little bag here we've got a belt clip and a couple of screws there for attaching it to the back of the radio, so you can hook it onto your jeans or onto a holster, and we'll put that on later on, but that just screws in on the back through the 2 holes there. In this bag at the top we've got the charger base. So one thing I like about these is that they are interchangeable between a lot of Retevis radios, which is quite nice. So should you want to pack light and take a couple of radios, this will support other radios as well. So I've got, I think, 4 of these now, so I can just take one charger, all 4 radios. And then in this bag here, we've got the radio itself, or the body of the radio. As you can see, the styling is quite nice on this, a lot nicer than the Bofeng style of radios. It does look a little bit more premium. And what we'll do is we'll just move this packaging out of the way, and we'll put this thing together. It's only the 3 components. We've got the battery which goes on the back here. You can see the rubber seal around the contacts as well, so it's really protected, and that just clips into place, and that clasp locks it down onto the radio's body, and again, it's just going to stop any water from getting into there. If we look in the antenna, the SMA connector, there's a groove around the outside, and that allows the antenna to, the edge of the antenna slots into there, so that rubber at the bottom of the antenna slots into that, again just making it watertight to stop any water ingress should this thing get wet. And that's the basic setup, really straightforward. What we'll do is we'll just have a quick look at the outside of the radio before we turn it on. So we've got the PTT here, and then underneath we've got a couple of programmable buttons, but we'll cover those in the programming software. There's a few settings that you can assign those to. On the front we've got the LCD screen and the keypad, so quite a simple keypad, but you can access all settings from the front of here, and we've got the speaker on the bottom. And then on this side, behind this panel, which just locks into place with a screw, if I can just get that off. I've just hand loosened that, but you've got the contacts underneath, the programming cable and for speaker mics, and this panel's got a rubber seal on the bottom there which just stops those from getting wet should the radio get wet, and that just clips into place and screws on like so. And I should just point out the programming cable and speaker mics for a number of Retevis radios that have the IP67 rating are all interchangeable, so this cable I use on my DMR waterproof radios as well as this one. You see the battery locking into place there. We've got the belt clips there, belt clip screws on the back. On the front, you'll be pleased to know there's no torch. We've got an LED there for transmit and receive, and we've got the rotary encoder for on, off and volume. Okay, so I've brought the camera in a little bit closer. I'm just going to switch the radio on. You can see the nice bright screen there. I've got a dual Vfo screen, and the layout's quite simple on here. You can see we're on the main Vfo there, so you've got an A and B Vfo, and you can just press the AB button there to switch between the two. And the little main logo shows you which one you're on. We've got a battery indicator, you can set that to voltage or battery level. It's a nice bright screen, we're flooded by studio lights here, but the screen's nice and bright, which is good. Everything you can program from the front, and you can, if you press the exit button there, you can switch between your Vfo and memories, and I've already programmed this in before when I was doing some testing. If we look in the menus, there's plenty of menu settings here. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see we've got like scan, Vox settings, transmit power, squelch and things like that. There's about 30 odd settings on this, so we won't go through them all. They're all selectable from the front end, and they're all selectable from the programming software. And a couple of little bits that I did like, which I mentioned at first, were these ones, which are Qt Scan and DCS Scan. So you can actually go through both of these, and if you're hearing a signal that you want to listen to or join in on, you can just scan through the CTCSS or DCS codes like so, and it will stop when it finds it. So I just thought that was really handy. That's quite a nice feature to have if if you're doing a bit of scanning and you've got that handy, and your scanner doesn't do that. A lot of scanners don't do that. You can just use the radio to do it, and it does the same on the DCS codes as well. So yeah, I thought that was quite nice, and we're sort of back to the beginning of the menus now. So decent settings and features there, are really easy to navigate through. Okay guys, so programming on this radio is pretty simple. If you go to the resources page on the Retevis website, you can see here you can download all the programming software for all the entire catalogue of radios. So you just want to go on and download the Retevis RT87 software. That's the radio we're going to program. And when you download it and install it and open it, you'll be greeted with a page that looks like this, and it's quite familiar. Those who are used to programming radios on the computer will know it's very, very straightforward type of program. It's just basically spreadsheet type software. So firstly, what you need to do is plug your radio in. So on the programming cable, you plug that onto the laptop or computer, and the other end you put onto the radio. And it's a screw-on type cable that I covered earlier. And what you want to do is first, basically, it's always good to have a look at what's already in the radio. So we're going to read from the radio. You're going to want to make sure you've got the correct communication port firstly, so I'm on COM port 3 here in setup, but we'll go on transfer and we'll read from the radio. And I've already programmed this radio. It is going to prompt you for a password. Just leave it blank. We don't need to put one in. You can put one in if you want, but we don't need to do that at the moment. So we'll just click on OK. And you can see there it tells you how much, what percentage of completion you're at with the programming. So we're just reading the data at the moment, so we're looking at what's inside the radio. Now, as I say, I've already programmed some things into this, so that's going to show on the screen in a second. We're just going to do a couple of little tweaks to it, and then we'll upload it again. Okay, so what you can see here, I've got some repeaters in. So in the first column, we've got the receive frequency, like so. In the second column, we've got the transmit frequency. So the receive and transmit. So the repeater's output is receive, the repeater's input is the transmit frequency. We don't need to put a decode tone on this, but we do need to put an encode tone. So we're going to put an encode tone for this repeater of 82.5. You've got CTCSS and DCS tones in there, so we just want a CTCSS tone of 82.5 for this repeater. Transmit power. We'll just leave to high, so you've got the high power 5 watt or the low power 1 watt. Scan add, that's to add it to the scan list. Wide or narrow, I'm going to set the deviation to narrow. I'm going to set the deviation to narrow for all of these. And you can just do that on the drop down menu there. It's quite simple. That's just the deviation of the signal. So we'll just get to the bottom here. And then you can see the next column along, I've given them names, so we've got the repeaters' names there, and you can just type that into the box. So this case we're on GB3MR, which is in Stockport. And we've got busy channel lockout, so basically that means if the channel's in use you can't transmit on it, but we don't want that on. We've got Ptt Id, which we don't want, so that's end of transmission, beginning of transmission, or both, which we don't want, but you can set those in the settings, which I'll show you in a minute. We've got Vox on or off, so you can turn Vox, a voice activated transmission, on or off. Option there is for scrambler or compander. So compand is basically voice compression, scramble is a voice scrambler, and that's just handy for a bit of added security. Doesn't mean someone can't listen into you, just makes it a little bit harder for someone who hasn't got a voice scrambler on. And there's a few options, there's 8 options of scrambler there, and we'll probably have a look at them in another video, but you can set those. But because we've got that, it doesn't matter what we set that to because the option is turned off. Click on more, just gives you the same information on a slightly different sheet there. You can just go through and tweak and edit. If we just click those arrows, it will take you out of there. So that's repeaters, that's how to program a repeater in. For those who have done this before, it's really simple stuff. Just further down I put PMR channels in here just for monitoring. And basically the only difference here is that we've got the receive frequency and the transmission frequency set to the same because there's no offset on a simplex channel. What we need to do is just set these to narrow again, but we'll do that in a little while. So yeah, really simple stuff. There's nothing else really to show you on the programming spreadsheet side of things. If we just go into program and optional features, we can go into some of the more detailed settings here, so you can set your squelch level, your timeout timer, the scan mode, chord, that's basically just like the tone, battery save on or off. You can have a Roger beep, you can have a keypad beep, which will just keep off. You can set how long you want the lamp on for. All sorts of settings in here that you can just go through and tweak, and once you've done that you can just save and close. We've got Ptt Id settings here, so you can have a DTMF setting there, and you can have that at the start or end of your transmission or both. And then here are the DTMF signal in here. It's just basically a radio ID if there's a few of you, but you don't need to mess about with any of that. Okay, and then the last little thing, if we go into setup, model information, you've just got some information there on this radio. So we've got UHF and VHF, and just one last thing I needed to show you was key assignment. So if we go on key assignment, you can set the options for the 1 and 2 keys on the side. There's not many things to choose from there, but you know, everything you can access from the front panel anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I've just kept number 2 to off, and I've just got number 1 set to revert frequency there. So if you're on a repeater, basically that will go to the input, and you can listen, see if you can hear somebody. Okay, once you've done that, just click on transfer at the top. Click on write to radio. Again, you can put a password in here if you want to, but I'm not going to. You can just put your password and your new password in, but I'm not going to bother with that. We'll just click on OK, and you can see again there, it shows you what percentage. It also shows you on the screen of the radio the percentage of programming you're at as well. So yeah, quite a nice piece of software, bug free, didn't crash on me once, quite easy to program. The cable worked as well without any drivers, the cable just went straight in, so yeah, it's all good stuff. And then when you've done, it'll tell you that the write is complete and the port is closed. You can then close the software. You have got the option to save the file that you have, and you can then unplug the radio and you're good to go. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed that short review on the Retevis RT87. I am going to be doing some testing with this further down the line, probably later on this week. It's absolutely chucking it down outside. It's windy, rainy, cold. I know this is IP67 rated, but I'm not, so I'm not going to be going out doing any testing today. But stay tuned, because that will be coming up in the next video on this radio. We'll do some repeater and simplex testing and see how this thing performs. As you can see, it's styled really nicely. It's got a really nice design to it, a lot better than some of the Bofeng radios that are out there. And just some of those additional settings like the CT, CSS and DCS scanning I thought were handy, and of course the IP67 rating is a big bonus as well. Retevis have released a lot of radios that are IP67 rated, so it just makes it that little bit more rugged for when you're out and about in the field. You know, if you get caught in the rain or you drop it in a puddle or something like that, you know it's going to be okay. So yeah, okay, stay tuned for part 2, guys. If you want to buy this radio, links are in the description below. If you have any comments, suggestions or questions, drop them in the box below and I'll get back to you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already clicked the subscribe button, then make sure you click the subscribe button. And all that's left to say is 7-3, guys. Thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.